I think you've heard me say this, Joe. It's not our customer's job to remember us. It's our job to make sure they can't forget us.
All right, what is going on, everyone? I'm excited about this convo. We had to actually force ourselves to hit the record button because we were just kind of chatting and catching up and all that good stuff. But wanted to make sure we could bring some value to our awesome audience here. Today, I have my good friend Clifton Muckenfuss to talk about business, to talk about his experience in the contracting world, what he does now, servicing contractors, and really what I wanted to have him on here for because of his expertise and his passion for CX, which is client experience. And that's something that I think everyone, every business, every individual can improve upon. So we're going to unpack some of Clifton's secrets, some of his the things that he utilizes and coaches on so that we can all level up. So without further ado, what's going on, my man?
What's up, brother? So good to be here with you today, man. It's I've been looking forward to this conversation since you invited me on. So yeah, man, looking forward to chopping it up with you, brother.
Yeah, I can't believe it's taken us this long, but it really wasn't until I saw we were both speaking at Contractor Con recently in Orlando, and you did this amazing presentation on client experience. And I'm just like, man, well, first of all, I'm taking notes because I'm like, all right, there's things that we could definitely be doing better as a company. I'm thinking like every single company, there's so many companies out there looking for like, hey, how can I get more leads, right? How can I make more sales? This stuff that you kind of talk about is not, the maybe the obvious stuff, but it's things that can make a huge difference. And I know that you've experienced that in your contracting company. Before we get into that, just a little context as to, who you are. I know that family is very important to you and your core values. So give us a little bit of a taste as to who you are.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for that. Joe, it was awesome to see you at Contractor Con a few weeks ago. What was interesting about that is the fact that just a week prior, we had lived through Hurricane Ian, right? So that was pretty interesting here in Venice, Florida. But, and as I got into that speech at Contractor Con, I mentioned, my why. And I showed a picture of me and my family sitting at the helm of the Dream Chaser, which is a catamaran that we own, that we lived on. But, my wife of 14 years, Mary Ann, my son Chase, who's 12, my son Cody, who's 10, and my daughter Cameron, who is 8, that's my why. So every day when I get up, I make decisions in pursuit of being a role model and a leader for them. But born in South Carolina, grew up in a small town, and my closest neighbor was a drive away, right? So grew up with my grandparents, born a Clemson fan. I didn't know this. I found this out at Contractor Con. You're a BC guy, right?
Yep. ACC rivals, I guess, huh?
That's right, man. That's right. But anyway, so I grew up in small town America. Went to Clemson, marketing communications degree, advertising minor. I did some internships while I was in college, and I won't bore you with all the backstory of the failures and the trials and the tribulations and all of that. But when you grow up in small town America, and nobody in your family has really, been an entrepreneur or really like chased after their dreams, they think you're going to move back home, right? And after college, they want you to move back home and work at one of two places there in the hometown. And so when I graduated, my family asked, hey, are you coming back home? And my immediate response is no, right? I moved down to Atlanta, worked in the tech sector for a while. I've had stints in the parking industry, the mortgage business, Yellow Pages. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, right? If you remember in 2008, the mortgage crisis was in full swing, the Great Recession. And so I worked for a mortgage company at the time. They went out of business. They went bankrupt. And so I just moved. She was my girlfriend at the time, but we had just moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. And she looks at me one day and goes, so what now? What are you going to do now? You don't have a job. We're in a new city. And I'm like, I'm just going to go figure it out. And what I meant by figuring it out is I went to my apartment community clubhouse and I faxed. Some of your audience may not even know what a fax machine is.
Probably not. Yeah.
But I faxed a flyer to a bunch of businesses, and I literally started a cleaning company out of an apartment community clubhouse. And so I've cleaned a lot of toilets in my life, Joe, a ton. And so anyway, that was my first sort of taste of entrepreneurship. And that's where this will get relevant now. So my first taste of entrepreneurship is I started a cleaning business, and I was literally cleaning toilets for a living.
Wow.
In homes and in businesses. Yeah, man. And so, when your girlfriend whom you're in love with, you move her to a new city, she looks at you and goes, hey, what next? You don't have a job. We're in a new city. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to go figure it out. And my answer to figuring it out is, hey, I'm going to go clean toilets. I wasn't really hitting on a whole lot right then. But
you got to start somewhere, like, there's only one way up from there.
Dude, exactly. But here's the cool thing. I learned how to pour into people. I learned how to, deploy tactical and service-based empathy to business owners and kind of getting on the same side of the table, figuring out what problems they were facing. And it was really their janitors wouldn't show up, or if they showed up, they did a poor job. And I said, okay, cool, I can do this better. And so I launched that company, man, and I grew it to like a $300,000 toilet cleaning business.
Wow.
Right? And so, but I wasn't really passionate about cleaning toilets. Let's be honest here, right?
All right. That's okay. We can admit that.
Yeah. And so, but I had to do what I had to do, and in 2010, my wife was pregnant. We were building our starter home. And I came home one day and I said, Marianne, I've got this great idea. And she goes, oh gosh, what now? I told her that I was going to go start this siding company, right? Siding. Yeah, honey, I'm going to start a siding company. What do you know about siding? I've never heard you mention the word siding or construction or anything. And I looked at her and I said, nothing. To which she replied, okay, what else? And I said, roofing and windows and doors and gutters. And she goes, let me guess. You know nothing about any of that either. And I said, no, but just trust me. And so,
I think we've every entrepreneur has said some version of that at some point. Like, trust me and I will figure it out.
Yes. Yeah, man. And so, God bless our spouses that put up with and deal with, this entrepreneurial mindset, and it's just all over the place. But so that was 2010, man. And I said, just trust me. She goes, okay, well, cool. What is this business about? And I explained to her how I was going to start this business. And I'll be brief here. I sat down with a childhood best friend and another really good friend of ours who was a construction superintendent for KB Home at the time. We're sitting down at a brewery. I came to the meeting with a business plan, literally on a Post-it note. And after about an hour and a couple beers, I said, look, here's the cool thing. I only need $1,500 from you, $1,500 from you, and I'm going to put in $1,500, and we're going to start this construction company on $4,500. My buddy looks at me and goes, yeah, man, you're absolutely crazy. I'm like, cool, you're out. Go get another beer. Now I'm going to focus on my buddy. And so I looked at him and I literally said, hey, cool, man, I don't need $1,500 from you. I need $1,750 from you. And so that was when my first construction company was born, off of $3,500, right? We started it in August of that year. Several months later, it's Christmas time. So I come home and I'm like, honey, listen, I know it's Christmas time. We've sold about $20,000 worth of work in the last 4 months. And she's like, okay, cool. She took that opportunity to remind me, hey, I trusted you. And I'm like, oh, snap. Okay, I got to get my stuff in gear. So anyway, I remember our first customer. Ellen Farrell was her name. And so I figured this out. I knew nothing about construction. I didn't have a marketing budget or ad budget, but I knew how to love on people. How can I take that experience and go be successful? And so that's what we did. I loved on Mrs. Farrell. I really became like one of her best friends. And so we turned that one job, Joe, in that neighborhood. After we were finished in that neighborhood, some years later, I think we had done a total of like 70 something projects.
Wow.
in that neighborhood alone. We did a great job. We showed up when we said we were going to show up. We delivered and executed on an incredible, exceptional customer experience. Mrs. Farrell was excited. Her neighbors saw us executing. She started telling people, and that's how our business grew. And within 3 years, we were right at $1 million, going from zero to $1 million. And so fast forward a few years from that, we were building out teams. We were building out sales teams, production teams, customer experience teams. And we grew that business to a sustainable multi-seven-figure business, which I just exited last November to really kind of focus on, my passion, which has become my purpose, which I'm sure we'll get into here shortly.
Wow, that's quite a journey. I mean, the toilet cleaning thing, I mean, that's cool. It's like, yeah, you just make it happen. That's commendable for sure. But it's also commendable that you said, you know what, like, I have one life to live and I want to do something, a little bit greater and impact more people. All right. So you sold 20 grand that first, 4 months or whatever it was. Marianne said, "Hey, I trusted you." I'm sure that hit you. That was a gut punch. Like, oh man, like I got to get my act together. So I get it. I've had similar conversations with my wife in the past. So it makes sense. I think a lot of people can probably relate. Like, what the hell are you doing? Right? How much longer are you going to do this? Those sorts of questions. So that's awesome, man. Great turnaround. What is it? And we'll get into like, what you do now and all that. But like, I can imagine a contractor listening to this and be like, it's, client experience. I hear that, like customer experience. I don't really know what it is, like what is it and why should I focus on it? Like, doesn't every customer just want like the lowest price and, a good warranty? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, man. So here's the thing, and I want your audience, and I want anybody that comes across this podcast to think about this seriously. If you own a business, you're already delivering an experience right now. I need you to seriously ask yourself, is the experience that you're currently delivering one in which you are proud of? Does it represent who you truly want to be as a person, as a leader, and as a business in the marketplace? Oftentimes, when I ask clients that, the answer is no. Right? And so, client experience is much different. So before we get into that, we really need to kind of identify and define customer service and customer experience. And you'll hear customer experience, client experience, CX, those are kind of used synonymously. But customer service is really the response to an individual event, right? It's really kind of doing what's expected, right? If somebody has a problem, okay, yeah, we're going to try to resolve that. So it's a response to an individual event. Client experience, actually, someone told us at the Contractor Con, I was having a conversation with him, David, he said customer service is almost like manners. It's just doing what's expected. Here's the problem. Doing what's expected is not enough. Doing what's expected produces what I talk about as a satisfied customer. And when I ask people, who in here wants a satisfied customer? Most people raise their hands, right?
I saw that at the event.
And so then I said, okay, well, if I were to tell you that a satisfied customer is really a liability because he or she is not motivated based on their experience to go tell their friends, their family, their coworkers, that's a liability. You have to create raving fans. People so obsessive about you, your brand, your culture, your people, the experience that they can't wait to go tell everybody about it. And so client experience is every single touch point along the customer journey, before, during, after. So you have to identify every single touch point in that journey, and that holistically is client experience.
Okay. That's awesome. Well said. Well said. I think that, I was going to say these days, but I think always like in the contracting industry, which I grew up in and now we work in, and you've been in and you work in now, like the bar is so low with contractors, right? And I'm sure no one listening or watching this podcast, right? We're all perfect, but like the bar is so low. And I know like some of our clients, I'll talk with and like, hey, what makes you stand out, or how have you been able to grow? And they'll be like, yeah, we just answer the phone and we show up on time. And, that's like, we do all the other things, but that's kind of it. Like, that's the bar is so low that those things actually stand out these days. Right. So I think that some of the things you're talking about might be so simple that people dismiss them, but like, it's these little things that these little touch points, every interaction we have with a client is a way to like stand out and wow them. Right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that most people, most contractors, especially most business owners, but most contractors especially, generally speaking, they're very disciplined, right? Or they're very educated in their chosen discipline. If you think about, the E-Myth and things like that, generally you got a technician that kind of has this entrepreneurial seizure and goes, oh, I've been on the tools. I'm good at that. I got to go start a business. Most, not all, most construction company owners are not good at business. They're good at their chosen craft or that discipline, right? And so then you start introducing terms like client experience and CX, and they're like, wait a minute, I have no idea what's going on. All I have to do is just, go tell them that, oh, I can install this window or replace this roof. That's it, right? And so they just don't understand that really client experience is not difficult to implement into your business. You just have to understand what it is first, right? And that's one of the things that contractors in general is they oftentimes can't see the forest through the trees. They get so far in the weeds. They're like, all right, I got to do this today. I got to do this today. And I'm only focused on this 1 or 2 or 3 activities while sacrificing the long-term growth potential because they're not looking down the road. They're not visionaries.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah. I think that, I know as a business owner, like, wasn't it? I was watching your presentation at Contractor Con and I'm like, man, yeah, we can do these things. We can do these things. And that was 6 weeks ago. And we've implemented a couple things, but there's a lot more that we can do. But we stay so busy. So what are, if someone's like listening to this, they're watching this, they're like, all right, that makes sense. Like I can definitely improve. I can definitely like stand out a little bit more. What are some of the things that, that you would recommend to a contracting company or that you work with your clients on? Like, what are some of those wins that they can experience with CX?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're in the year 2022, right? So number one basic is you've got to have a CRM. And if you don't know what a CRM is, that's customer relationship management. That is a software tool so that you can manage customer data. I think I mentioned at Contractor Con that, if you've got a desire to sell your business at some point, up to 60% of the value of your business comes from your intangible assets. Your customer data is part of those intangible assets. Guess what's also included as part of those intangible assets? That's your online reputation. That's how much business comes from referrals, right? Well, you get an increased number of referrals, an increased number of repeat business, a better online reputation if you focus on the experience, right? So basics with technology, anytime somebody even fills out a web form on your website, they should immediately get a text message. They should immediately get an email. Inside of that email should be an embedded video from the owner. Again, what I talk to you about when I talk to contractors and clients and groups about is like, look, man, this is not something that costs a lot of money. I mean, literally, you could pull out your iPhone right now, turn it into landscape mode and record a short 30-second video thanking a visitor who landed on your website, who took the action to complete a form. You could thank them. And in that 30 seconds, explain to them what will happen next. And then when you set that expectation, you better deliver on it, right? So that's very easy. Form fill, automatic text message, automatic email, embedded video. Before technology was so advanced, Joe, we would get a lead and we would literally mail them what we called a pre-positioning packet. right? Snail mail. So in the mail would this envelope would show up. It would have some nice fancy marketing literature about our company. It would have some cost versus value reports. It might have a brochure or booklet and things like that in it. Well, speed is the new currency now, man. So we don't have time to snail mail. So you've got to automate this. And here's the other thing. After you meet with someone, what are you doing to thank them for spending that time? After you meet with them, are you sending them a video that just says, thank you so much for spending, the last hour with me, investing that time with me. By the way, everything we talked about, I know we can deliver on. Reminding them of the next steps, accompanying that with a picture of you. I mean, these are all things that are zero cost except for your time, right? Then how about this? How about if you meet with someone in your CRM, the lead status changes from, appointment set to quoting. And that trigger event then launches a handwritten thank you card to that prospect that thanks them, that shows up in about 5 to 7 days, that thanks them again for spending that time with you. It's less than $5, man. So for less than $5, would you be willing to bet that your closing rates could increase 5, 10, 15%? Would that be a good investment? Probably so, right?
Yeah, I'll take that, man.
Absolutely. So then, again, what happens when someone decides to do business with you? Does the owner reach out to them? What about your client experience manager who does a welcome call? Very simple. Hey, Joe, it's Clifton over at Muckenfuss Construction. I just wanted to say thank you for trusting us. Welcome to the family. You've made an incredible decision. Because in construction, what is a homeowner, what are they already thinking?
They're already doubting. They have that potential buyer's remorse. They're like, all right, I feel okay. Clifton seems like a good guy, but he says he's going to show up on Saturday. I hope that he does. I'm not really sure. These contractors, how they roll. That's what's going on in their head, right?
Absolutely, man. So it's okay, look, you've heard the horror stories where the contractor sits at the table, they get this huge deposit and then they disappear. So if you can minimize that sort of anxiety with a simple phone call or a simple video, thanking them, very, very simple things to do. Then, you set a pre-construction meeting with them where you actually go out with your team, you run through everything, you introduce them to the key players on your team, maybe even have the project manager that's going to be assigned to their project, if it's a remodeling project, send the video as well. Man, I'm talking to the video guy here, right? I can't underscore the importance of video enough. I mean, it's been huge in my business, right? So all of those things. And again, they're very low cost. And then after you finish their project, how do you reward them? How do you truly thank them for investing their hard-earned dollars with you? Here's what I know is true, and it really kind of drives me crazy, which is one of the reasons why I started my company, is most contractors are so busy worried about chasing the next deal that they fail to spend time appreciating the ones that have already done business with them. And my stance on marketing companies. You're a marketing training company, which is why I love you.
Am I exempt?
You're exempt. But you know what? If anybody that listens to this is, a Google AdWords certified marketing expert and all that, look, man, great for you. I refuse to pay you. I'm going to figure out a way to reward the people that have already entrusted me and my company with their money, and I'm going to pour back into them. I'm going to do surprise and delight programs, right? I'm going to send them quarterly gifts just out of the blue, letting them know that I'm thinking about them. I'm going to create touch points, 30 days, 90 days, 6 months. I'm going to do a courtesy annual inspection. I think you've heard me say this, Joe. It's not our customer's job to remember us. It's our job to make sure they can't forget us.
Wow. You got to say that again. That's a quotable.
Yeah. So it's not our customer's job to remember us. it's our job to make sure they can't forget us.
That's awesome.
In other words, and I came up with that because I had a customer that we did a project for. We did a siding project. We did a window project for. I had an opportunity that was her neighbor, and I drive by her house and I look and I'm like, holy smokes, it looks like they got their roof done.
Oh, no way. And it wasn't you.
And it wasn't me. And so, of course, I called him up. Hey, it's Clifton, just checking in. Oh my gosh, yes. Lewis was amazing. The crew was great. I'm like, hey, just making sure everything's good. Yeah, Clifton, what's up? I'm like, well, I'm meeting with Lucy, your neighbor. I'm like, and I just happened to notice, did you get a new roof? Silence. Followed by, oh my gosh, Clifton, do you do roofing?
Oh no.
And at that very moment, I said, not again. Now, do I think we get 100% of all business? No. But at that moment in time, I made a commitment that experience would be very minimal. So therefore, when we talk about top of mind, we're always doing things so that customer can't forget us. Hey, we launched a new service. By the way, you had a great experience with us on your siding project. Oh, here's what we have going on right now. Thought about you. If you're interested, give me a call. And so it really helped tremendously, Joe. And it goes back to this. When I started a business with $0 in marketing budget, I grew a company to a 60+% repeat and referral business.
Wow.
I spent less than 1% of top line revenues on true lead generation activities. I told you, man, like I'm not giving my money to the quote digital marketing experts. So those are all things that, kind of separated us. And for your listeners, man, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. My wheels are turning. We do some of the things you're talking about, but like this is my wheels are turning with some of the additional things that we can do. But quick story, okay? So we just enrolled a new client like an hour ago, okay? He had his initial discovery call on Monday with Alex here on our team, and who does, sales for us. And the next morning, I sent this prospect, because I'm friends with him on Facebook. I sent him a video like, hey man, like you had a call with Alex, the whole thing, just following up, just want to make the connection. If I can answer anything as an owner, let me know. And son of a gun, he writes back, he goes, hey, Clifton's got you on those video follow-ups, huh? And I don't I'm Facebook friends with this guy, but like I've never interacted with him before. I don't know him. Yeah. And I guess, I'll tell you afterwards who it is, but
sure.
Obviously he knows you, and maybe he knows that you and I are buddies or whatever. But I was like, yeah, man, like it works. And then today's Wednesday, 48 hours after his initial call, he signs a 12-month contract to be a client. Yeah. So I'm not saying it was just the video, obviously, but that doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah, man, Joe, that's an awesome story. That's an awesome story. When I do sales training on sales follow-up techniques, right? And I go through this outline of like what to do on day 0 and what to do on day 1 and 3 and 7 and all of that. But here's the thing, man. If you show up like everybody else, this is especially for contractors. If you show up like everybody else, you're installing the same product, you have about the same warranty, you're saying about the same things, you're forcing your customer to buy on price. And what we know is that when a consumer buys on price and price alone, often they make a poor decision. They have a bad experience, right? You have to do things that are separating you, even the small videos, but are separating you. I mean, I'm amazed at how many people hit me back like, dude, nobody does this. Like, just for example, like when I send happy birthday videos to people every single morning between the hours of about 4:40 and about 5 a.m., I'm like, I hope this message helps you, motivates you, inspires you, get your day started, right? Birthdays, man, it brings joy to them. So if you can do that in your business, and guess what? If it takes you 30 seconds and it helps you close 2 or 3 more deals a year, again, The ROI on that is pretty huge. But that's cool. I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, and I will say maybe you can share, back me up here or refute what I'm about to say, but you send those video messages, and in my experience, maybe 1 in 3, 1 in 4 actually replies. And so you can't take that personally. It's just kind of how it is, right? So that's a little mental barrier to get over, because like people might try this and be like, yeah, like these jerks don't get back to me, or they don't even acknowledge the fact that I sent them a video. And I was like that, but now I just know. I'm like, like 1/3 of people, 2/3 of people are not going to reply, and or they might, but it might take a month or two, and they'll be like, yeah, we're ready to do business. Let's go. And
Yeah.
like, you never know. So you have to, in my opinion, trust the process and detach yourself from any outcome. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% spot on right there. I mean, I think that, with anything, too many people, you said the mental barriers. Too many people we want, thanks to Amazon, we live in this, instant gratification world. And so we believe, therefore, that if I go talk to you about a roof or a siding project or a remodeling project that might be 50, 60, 70, $150,000, that you're immediately ready to commit to that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then you send them a video follow-up and they don't reply and your ego gets hurt. No. Here's the deal. You don't do the video with the intent to just close. You do the video with the intent to what is one of your core values, which I love, is to become and be a trusted advisor. I want to ensure that you, Mr. Homeowner or Mrs. Homeowner, have all of the information you need to make the best decision possible for you. If that's with me, amazing. If it's not, I'm going to arm you with everything you need to know to avoid having a negative experience. Oh, and by the way, if you want improved engagement on your videos, I appreciate you today. You send me this. You got to create the graphic, man. You got to create the picture that accompanies the video. Because here's the thing. You may make an incredible impression on someone when you meet with them for the first time. But guess what? If I don't know you, and a video just pops up on my screen, right? I'm like, what is that? I may not even watch the video right away. But if underneath the video, Joe, shows up with a graphic that says, hey, you've got a message from Clifton, and it's got my company name or my logo, maybe even has my core values on it, now I get better engagement. And so for those that are, sending the videos and may not be getting the response that they think they deserve or they need or they want, try the graphic. Guaranteed better response.
Yeah, man, you dropped that in our Facebook group yesterday and had that made today. I'm already using it, so we'll drop that graphic in the video here on YouTube for those of you who are watching. So that's huge. And again, like, it was free to implement, right? It just took a few minutes of time. I mean, in my case, someone on our team did it, so I paid a few bucks for whatever. But like, it's almost free. So on that note, I mean, these are some amazing tips. Like, hopefully people's wheels are starting to turn here. And, one of the things that I don't want to say an objection, but like what I'm thinking as a business owner, wearing lots of hats, like most people are who are listening to this, right? It's like, all right, well, this all sounds great. Like, how do I actually implement this, right? I'm busy. Maybe I don't have a big team. Like, how do I go about this? How do I make sure I'm doing it the right way? Any tips there? And feel free to, talk about your company and how you would facilitate that for someone who might need that as well.
Yeah, man. So here's the thing. For those that have the I'm going to call them limiting beliefs, like I don't have the time, I need you to hear this very clearly. If you don't have the time, I can guarantee you that your competitors are making the time.
Woo! Wow.
Because the reality is this, man, the marketplace is getting crowded, right? There's a lot of competition. So you have to figure out ways to implement things to help you stand out in a crowded marketplace, right? So, okay, yes, I was once a solopreneur. I ran sales. I was answering the phones. I was the janitor. That's because I was good at cleaning toilets. Remember that story from earlier? I was ordering materials. I was scheduling the crews. I was scheduling the job. I was doing the pre-con meeting. I was doing the final walkthrough. I was doing all of that. But then I created what I call the time, task, good at, and enjoy exercise, right? People listening are probably like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And I can give you a copy of this, Joe, that you can share. But it really, most people are vision, they can see things, or when they see things, it makes a lot more sense to them, especially in the construction space and the owner space. And so if you literally go through this exercise and write down every single activity that you are performing and how much time you're spending on that, and then here's the key part. You need to be honest with yourself. Nobody's going to be over your shoulder checking your answers on this next part. You need to self-evaluate. Are you good at it? And do you enjoy it? And when you do this exercise, you create a matrix. You can then identify your high-value activities, your low-value activities, the things you like, the things you enjoy, the things you're good at, and the things you don't really enjoy. I've got clients right now, man, that are like, I absolutely hate doing estimates. Cool. Is there somebody, followed by this, is there anybody on your team right now that is capable of creating the estimates if we created a documented SOP for them? And so the point is, you then need to figure out, is there someone on your team, if you have a team, that can handle some of those tasks, or you can outsource it, right? I mean, you provide an incredible solution, outsourced solution to help people train their in-house marketing people, right? Or you hire somebody like me. I mean, we can automate the majority of this stuff, right? So imagine this. Imagine you are a contractor, you're an exterior home improvement contractor, and in your CRM, you have a job that's in progress. Your project manager, if you have one, or if that's you, you go out, your homeowner's super happy, you do your final walkthrough, which, I call it a quality control inspection. I hated the word punch list. It's got this negative connotation to it. But anyway, so everybody's excited. We close out the job. And right there, immediately, we can deploy some technology to solicit the review, right? Through an app that we have. We can then promote that review. But then let's say you open up your phone and you change the lead status from in progress to completed. How cool within like 7 days if some popcorn arrived at their house with some candy and with a $20 Amazon gift card to buy a movie, and it came from you, the siding company. How cool would that be? Right? We can handle that automatically, automated. And then I talked about it earlier about the quarterly gifts. Again, these are all things that are truly, so if that siding project is $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, dude, we're talking about less than 0.5% of that to implement something like this. I can guarantee you right now in the construction space, you're spending $500 to $1,000 to $1,500 per new lead, right? That's closing at 20 to 28 to 30%. If I can pour back into my client that already knows me, likes me, trusts me, has already spent money with me. Oh, and by the way, I do roofing and their roof is 10 years old. I stay in front of them. Now I've spent less than, $1,000. Now I got a $15,000, $20,000 roof. I'm not good at math, bro. Sounds like a pretty good investment to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'd rather buy some popcorn and candy than buy some crappy leads from Home Advisor or something, so.
Exactly. So that's really why I started my company, Building Raving Fans, right? So we're on a mission we're basically kind of like a tech company, I guess, because we automate a lot of this stuff. And we're all about creating customers for life and creating those exceptional customer experiences. Because I did a lot of this stuff in my own company, right? I had some fulfillment partners and I'm like, nah, man, I can actually do this better. And I figured it out.
That's cool. That carries a lot of weight. The fact that this is how you built your multi-7-figure contracting company, and now you're, giving it or selling it, providing it to others like that. It carries a lot of weight, man. That's huge. And that makes sense. Like,
I told you this, at Contractor Con, and I've talked about it often. Like, look, I wasn't a great student, right? I mean, the semester I was supposed to graduate college, I didn't even go to class. I wasn't a good student. And the reason why that's important is because everything that I teach business owners, coach business owners on, consult with them is based on experience. It's not theory. Nothing against philosophers and people who write textbooks and all. Those people are smart. But I talk about real world practical experience. This is what I've done. These are the results. I know it works. I mean, dude, I could blow your mind. I launched a targeted direct mail letter that people told me that will never work. It will never work. You'll never convert. And I sold $600,000 off of a 8.5 by 11 Z-fold letter over 3 campaigns.
Wow.
Because guess what? Those brochures that show up in your mailbox, that, the Clipper magazines and all that stuff, your competitors are on that.
Exactly.
I can see your competitors' offers. And if it keeps showing up, the offer's either working or you're not paying attention to it. But I don't want to be crowded like that, man. I'm going to send you something targeted. Oh, by the way, I'm going to sprinkle in some video on that. So that's what we do, man.
Man, that is awesome. I actually didn't know all of that. So that's really helpful. Where can people learn more about you, about that offer, that company, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, man. So of course I'm on the socials, Clifton Muckenfuss on Facebook, at Boats and Bourbon on Instagram, 2 things that I really like. Also on LinkedIn. But I would be remiss in the time that we have left. My passion is helping people. Right, Joe? We talked about, so buildingravingfans.com is my website where you can learn about the automated handwritten cards, the surprise and delight, the employee happiness programs. But, that's me helping their businesses on that side. But really, my purpose, what I've been put on this planet to do by God, is to really lead, motivate, inspire, and help other business owners. And so I do that through my position as the director of coaching at Winrate Consulting. You're a client of Winrate. And man, that's where I get chills, because man, I see people like you and our other clients just winning big based on the practical real world experience that I'm able to share with you. And man, this just is so rewarding and just a lot of fun.
That's cool, man. I think anyone can tell that you have such a passion for what you do in all aspects, family, your own business with Winrate and everything in between. And that's awesome. So I love Winrate, love being a part of Champions Circle, just renewed for next year again. What an awesome community. Highly recommend any contractors checking it out. Anyone that wants to level up in your personal life, your business, your leadership, your relationships, all that stuff. It's all tied together. So that's my endorsement for Winrate as well, and Clifton and the whole team, the whole coaching team there, Mike Claudio and the whole gang. So man, it's been a pleasure. I know you got to go. I know you're a busy man. You got people to serve. So thanks so much for being here. Looking forward to getting this out to our audience. I know people are going to get a ton of value out of this. And please reach out to Clifton if you have any questions. Just follow his content on social media. It's super inspirational. Get in touch with him if you want to learn more about his services, because it's truly going to help you in your business. So thanks a lot, Clifton. And I'll see you next week at RoofCon.
Yeah, man. I can't wait for that, man. It's always a pleasure to spend this time with you, man. So you know what to do, man. Go be great.